You're listening to the Bombad Generals.
General? Oh.
Hello, welcome to the Bombad Generals. It's Seth. I'm here with Matt. Thanks so much for watching. Unfortunately, Todd, we're renegotiating his contract right now, so he won't be able to make it. Isn't that so sad, Matt?
It's, you know what? I'm over it at this point. I've been hurt enough times. We need to grow and become our own people, and if we get Todd, it's a bonus now, in my opinion.
Yes. So growing equals changing, and I just want to say that, the Bombad Generals may be changing just because we're renegotiating that contract with Todd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just because you might not hear Todd, don't worry, it's still going to be the same episodes that you know. At least that you know, maybe that you know and love.
Hopefully.
Even though you won't hear the mainstay that is our third host. But enough of that. I'm really excited about today's episode.
So I'm pumped. I've been actually pumped for this for the month.
Yes. So back in December, I want to say, we did our bounty hunter tier list. So if you haven't listened to that, clearly you need to go and do that.
Go back and do it.
We've had a points change and a CRB since then, but I think our opinions hold up because they're airtight and, unimpeachable.
We're always right, except that one time we weren't. But yes.
Yes. We might have a points change. I think they've said late
by the end of May.
So what they're targeting. So hopefully that happens because I have an event in June. So maybe these opinions will become invalidated by that, but they might still be awesome. And we'll talk about, with the strengths and weaknesses of each Force user. So I think that's going to stay valuable information. But I got ahead of myself. It's inspired by what I was running this week. I got a game in on Saturday with Ahsoka. So was very excited to try her out. It took a bit of time because I was not excited to play a rebel list. That was the issue.
That's rough. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went up against our teammate Preston Zodiac on the Discord. He was running Maul Asajj. And it didn't go well for Ahsoka when she it takes Duel of the Fates and then Makashi with 8 dice and a bunch of dodges on the follow-up. It was kind of the rebel problem of I caught Maul out, hit him with a bunch of standbys, like force push into a bunch of standbys, and I just had no firepower because it was rebels.
That's rough.
And then it was a 1-pip roll-off on Asajj versus Ahsoka on their 1-pips, and we actually rolled it after. We rolled Zodiac 1, he came in, killed Ahsoka, and it was pretty much game over. Because Maul was already dead at that point, but I had nothing that was going to kill Asajj. If I had won the roll-off, we rolled the attack dice, and Ahsoka would have one-shot Asajj, and maybe it's a bit of a game. So, uphill battle, good learning experience for Ahsoka. Do we want to just get right into it and start with Ahsoka, talking about her strengths and weaknesses, where we rank her on our tiers?
Absolutely. So if you haven't read the title of this, we are doing a ranking system for all the Force users. So we're going to talk about all of them. We're doing the tier list, and we're gonna talk about each one of them. So we're actually going to pull this up. Let's pull up this ranking.
It's S through F, and anyone who has a Force upgrade slot. So that means yes, Palp, no General Grievous.
Correct.
You can all have kind of imagined where General Grievous would probably be on this list if he was here, though. Much like Old Man Boba wasn't on the Bounty Hunter tier list, you can probably guess where he would have been. So, I personally, when I started making my list, I kind of felt like everybody was in the B tier at first. Like, there's a whole clog up in the B tier, because a lot of Jedi, they're good, they've got kind of different flavors. So I kind of forced myself to really use the whole list. So they might be some spicy takes, but hey, come at me. What can I say?
we're here for the spice, Matt. That's what we're here for. So I'm gonna each ranking. Let's talk about what each ranking means to us. So a S tier. That's kind of man. Any scenario, any objective, any deployment, this Force user will rock, no matter the the matchup or anything. That's kind of how I think of S tier. It's just very a well-rounded Force user that can pretty much do anything in any scenario. Not
yeah,
anything,
I'd say
but to an
Force users are always going to be like a centerpiece of their list, but the S tier guys are the ones who are just going to be carrying games, putting them on their back, MVPs all the time.
Yeah. Now, A tier,
really good,
kind of
almost that. Yeah.
Almost that, but it has like some matchups that's like very unfavorable against.
Yeah, or they have a bit of a weakness. That keeps them from their top. B tier, I think, is just very serviceable. That's why a lot of them at first ended up in there for me. They're just very serviceable. They can do a lot, but they're maybe not. They're not as flashy, not as efficient as the S tier or the A tier.
In C tier, a little less efficient. Normally, like it does really good against specific matchups, but a majority of your time, it's not going to win a tournament. But it could go like 2-1 at like a tournament or something,
even maybe 5-1 at a bigger event in the right hands. Like Force users just generally are pretty good. So even C tier Force users are pretty decent. I think once you get into like C and D tier,
you gotta have a really good army behind them.
You need an army behind them. You need a really good plan of why you're how you're going to get the most out of them. You maybe have to build the list around them a bit, and there might just be a better option as well in the same faction.
That's true.
And then F tier, I'm just not going to take an F tier person.
F tier,
most likely.
D tier then F tier, but same thing, almost.
Yeah. So we've gone back and forth. We talked tier lists, then we talked Ahsoka, then we talked tier lists. Let's go back to Ahsoka.
Let's go back. Yes.
So
Matt, where do you rank Ahsoka?
Yeah. Well, first I'll talk about my experience with Ahsoka. My huge, vast experience of one game, which I would say I'm now an expert on Ahsoka. Of course, I had Force Push. I went with Force Reflexes because I figured, hey, she's recovering with Ataru, not Ataru Mastery, Jarkai Mastery. Yep. She can spend those dodges like marksman, so dice fixing really good. I had Tenacity and I had Into the Fray because this was Ahsoka Cassian list. Playing Crackshot turn 1, I don't really need C's on turn 1, and then afterwards she always has an order. And I think if I was going to play her again in the future, I'd really want Burst of Speed instead of Force Reflexes, because I think she's probably going to be a bit more reserved than a lot of other Force users. Like when I play Op Luke, he's in front of the army, behind an LOS blocker, but he's in front of the army with the army behind him zoning. He still has Burst of Speed because A, it's just a really good upgrade and I'm spoiled by Speed 3, and B, he has 3 Force slots, so it's an easy choice. I think because of her 2-pip card, where she's got Guardian, she might be a bit further back. So if you really want to give her a better engagement, get her in there quicker, I think you want Burst of Speed, so you can get from kind of the middle of your army to on the front. If I had Burst of Speed, I would have been able to get an extra attack off on Maul. He might not have lived to see Duel of the Fates, and then things go a lot better for Ahsoka. Tenacity, I think, is really good on her because A, you can proc it if you Guardian aggressively, and which not necessarily what you want to do, but it's possible. And her lightsaber, yes, it has dice fixing, but also it's basically Obi-Wan's saber without Tenacity, which is kind of I think adding a red die to a melee character is really good. And if Tenacity never triggers on your attacks, it means no one's damaging Ahsoka, so you're pretty happy. Into the Fray, I didn't really dive in this game, but I think you really want it with the deflect changes. Honestly, so much so that if I was playing Ahsoka Sabine, like if Sabine was better, I would probably not take explosions, just so that I could play Sabotage Communications, keep the order on Ahsoka without having to drop a training for C's. Because dropping one of Tenacity or Into the Fray to get C's, because you don't want to play explosions and not have an order on Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I don't love dropping one of those 2 trainings. So that was a good learning for me. I think, best loadout, Force Push, Burst of Speed, Tenacity, Into the Fray. Dice fixing with Jarkai Mastery, really good. It's really good. I think it's a bit better than Obi-Wan's saber because, you've got the consistent red dice, and then the white dice, whatever, dodge. Her one pip, you probably got 3 dodges at least from defend and moving twice. That's 3 extra white dice. Maybe one or two of them hit, and then boom, boom, boom on the rest of them. That was really good. No Master of the Force. I don't love that on a pretty expensive character. I think kitted out the way I had her was 190, and if you do burst of speed, that gets you up to 195. That's a lot for a character who's not getting their force push back automatically. So
That's
for
rough.
those reasons, and again, Into the Fray is not going to help you if they engage from, if they charge you from beyond range 1, which can happen quite a bit. So I'm putting Ahsoka in my B tier. I think she's a solid choice. I think if Rebels were better, she would shine a bit more. And she, her support is good. I'd probably want to take her with a medic and really guardian aggressively to turn my white saves into red saves. But I think she's serviceable. She does a lot. She can attack well, protect your army. She's just not... I don't think she's going to put the game on her back the way some other Jedi are going to.
Yeah, that's fair. I actually had her on B tier, on the lower end of the B tier, but I don't have any experience with her, so I'm not going to say a lot, but I kind of agree with you on a lot of that. And I think Master of the Force, not having that is a huge...
It's big.
It is. It really is for a Force user.
When you're talking about the high tier Force users, they're just game wreckers, right? And part of that is being able to, be force pushing stuff, attacking stuff, just going ham, having a really big threat range. If you have to recover to do that, if you have to take an action to recover and do that, then your threat range goes down, your options decrease. It's tough.
Yeah.
So
it's really tough to get her in there, attack, and then get her out because you have to use that extra action to recover a force push that you then use to get
play
in her.
Her 3-pip or Cassian's 3-pip, but then that's a 3-pip, and it's manageable, but it's not
ideal.
Self-sufficient in the same way other characters are, which kind of knocks it down to the B tier.
Yeah.
So I talked a lot about Ahsoka. You can go next, Seth. Who do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so since we're doing Ahsoka, let's do her master. Let's do Anakin Skywalker.
Okay.
Since we're just on the topic of that.
Gar guy over here.
Gar, I actually have a lot to say about Gar. So Anakin, man, he is such a reliable piece. Of course, when he first came out, he wasn't, mainly just because he didn't have a lot of defensive tech on him. But when the change to his 2-pip, giving that extra order out and defend 1, that's when it really made Anakin shine. So playing that 2-pip, getting a dodge almost every turn, I think is really good. There's some weaknesses he has. One being he's in a very expensive army. It's just the Gar weakness that is out there. 2, he's kind of predictable. You have to slow play Anakin. There's some things that you could do to do a fast play, 1-pip turn 1, do a fire support with the clone commander, and you could do that with the saber throw, but that's very niche. You're not going to use that every time. It's a lot of the games you're playing is you want a key position game where it's kind of a slow play. And there's not a lot of if you're playing a speeders, bombing run is probably not a great. He's not super flexible on that, or even breakthrough or something. So he has some weaknesses, but I think there's a lot more strengths in him than there are weaknesses, especially in the right hands. I feel I'm just going to say this for all of Gar. Gar, I feel has the Force users at a higher skill level. If they can be really good, but it requires a lot more skill. But I think that's just Gar altogether as a faction. So Anakin in a high skill is really, really good. Anakin in a decent skill is...
I think he's still pretty good, honestly. I think he's just efficient. Anakin is just purely efficient. You talked about the erratas to him getting defend 1, of course, huge, because that can trigger Gemso, which is a really good ability to just automatically send a wound back. Especially if you're trying to duel somebody. Another Jedi is not going to want to take that wound.
It's true.
And come after Anakin. Or you can share it with Exemplar. But I think another really big thing that makes Anakin so important these days is the changes to clone token sharing. They were kind of designed around surge sharing and having a lot of tokens. And now that P2s, I guess they came back down in price, but they're still really costly and it's harder to share tokens. The 2 surges that he gives them every turn for his army are so critical.
It's true.
I was honestly eyeing up S tier a little bit with Anakin because a lot of the time he feels like the best choice for Gar because he's just, that exemplar is so good and he can just sit there and just generate tokens and just be a threat.
Yeah.
And he's so cheap. 155 base cost. You can just slap force push and saber throw on him and you're feeling pretty happy. Like if you don't use his trainings, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But I think he just gets keywords. He doesn't get anything flashy. So he doesn't have any cool effects to really be that S tier game wrecker once he gets in. 5 red dice, 6 with tenacity, Pierce 3. Yeah, that's good.
That's pretty
Big
good.
fire supports. Yeah, those are good. We've talked about fire supports before. Good players can probably often kind of play around them and mitigate it. So that brought him, for me, back down to my A tier. Why I couldn't quite go commit to the S tier.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. He's not like super flashy. I also put him in my A tier.
There we go. We're agreeing.
He's pretty efficient. He's very efficient. But again, he's not flashy. Again, it's kind of that slower play. To play him really well, I feel like is to play him really boring.
Yeah.
Which but
I don't want to play a boring character for 6+ rounds. That's me personally. I can't put a boring character in S tier. To be S tier, you need to be exciting and keep me interested in playing Legion.
All 6 rounds keep me interested. For sure. Cool. Well, let's move on to the next. What's next, Matt?
All right. Let's see. I want to do something that we probably wouldn't agree on, but I'll save that choice. So let's go with Dooku.
All right, Dooku.
Something a little different. Let's get a dark side guy in there.
All right, sounds good.
Like most Sith, Dooku doesn't jump, so he's a bit slow. He doesn't have native relentless or charge.
It's true.
He's always going to have Makashi, much like Asajj, which is he's a really good linebacker in the sense of Jedi are not going to want to get close to him.
Correct.
Because, force push, perfect order and control, Makashi, all of that. His command cards are strong. He can mess with your order control. He can do objectives really well because of that 3-pip moving around opponents' units. We talk about how great force push is, being able to move your opponent's units. He has another card that can do that. He can speed 2 move someone, force push them, choke a guy, all sorts of stuff. It's really good. I think he has scatter on his 2-pip too, right? So, or his ranged attack.
Yeah, his ranged attack. You have scatter, correct? Pierce 1 and scatter.
It's good.
Yes, it's a little tough in the cover because there's no blast. But other than that, it's
you're relying on surge crit. You're doing maybe a couple wounds and repositioning someone is what you're doing. And he needs that ranged attack because he's kind of slow. You're not aggressively going in with Dooku unless you're doing like a Dooku Magna list, which might. And then in a world where maybe darks go away,
it works.
It could still work. Yeah. It won Invader League a couple Vader leagues ago. But he can take aggressive tactics, which CIS like with their perfect order control.
Yeah.
I think he's good, but for me, I put him in the B tier. I didn't think I could put him higher than that.
I also put him in the B tier.
He's expensive. He's expensive.
He is expensive.
I figured this one we might agree on again.
He's expensive, but the CIS can't afford the expensive commander. I think I don't know if you mentioned cunning, but cunning on a force user is really good, especially with Makashi. So he's very good anti-force user on that because he can, takes away someone else's immune to pierce. Also with the new panic rules, he's the only Courage 3 commander that CIS has. So that Courage 3 bubble is really helpful, so that the B1s won't panic or anything off that. So they need more suppression. I think that's super helpful.
I think in like a traditional like Force user plus gunline meta, Dooku can be very strong because, you know, he's got a gunline. Droid gunline's kind of in a weird place, but he has a perfect order controlled gunline, and you're not going to want to come near him with your Force user.
Exactly.
I think Dooku Staps was decent back in the day, but yeah, I think he's just very solid.
He is,
but not quite enough for me for the A tier.
Yeah, he is solid, and in the right hands he can do really good. Probably the upgrades I've run on him is like, I think Burst of Speed is a must on him.
Burst of Speed's really good.
It is really good because you do this one pip with Relentless, Burst of Speed, and then you can still move the next round after when you get immobilized. It's just down to Speed 1. So it's solid B tier character, solid commander, solid Force user.
Okay, who do you got next there, Seth?
Man, since I'm still feeling dark side, let's actually go. We're gonna go back to light side. Let's go Operative Luke. Operative Luke. We'll go back and forth. You know.
Okay.
Operative Luke. I'll start off on Operative. So Operative. One, I think the downside that you have is he's very expensive, but
worth it.
He's very worth it. I think the biggest downside with him right now is the army around him. But if like we see that change, not including the army, I think he's really good. If the army gets a buff, so rocking, of course, jump 1, surge to crit. 7 black dice with Pierce 2. Very good. I think you average about 4 hits.
It's okay. It's okay.
You probably want to run tenacity, but I think what really makes him stand out is disengage.
Yes.
That, because you do not bring force push, but it's not as necessary as it is for other Force users because you have disengage.
You, instead of using your Force push to dictate your own engagement, you can often be moving around and use your Force push for other stuff, which is really great. And you know, he's got Master of the Force, so a lot of the time you're gonna be using that Force push. Or if people try to tie you down with 2 guys, you can just Force push 1 and then disengage. It's awesome. When we talk about game wreckers and that threat range, Luke has it because he can disengage and just always be everywhere.
Yep.
I agree, you probably want tenacity in the old world. The big problem I had with Luke is the changes to deflect and getting surge to block in melee anymore. Yeah. Because he has a lot of cards that give dodges, and he is expensive. So to not have surges for melee, that feels really bad. Yeah, so now you're probably wanting, like, and when I played him at Kubla Khan last year, I was taking Into the Fray anyways. So it's kind of weird that, you know, maybe it's a bit hypocritical, but now I'm like, I don't like being kind of forced into it. That's the thing.
I get that. Yeah, I get that.
Because now you don't have the upside damage of tenacity, because 7 black is good, but it can be kind of inconsistent. Having that anchoring red is really strong. Or being able to pair him with another character like Han Solo and seize the initiative on a 0 pip was very strong. Or just doing any sort of multi-character stuff. But now that he only has one training slot, and I kind of feel like I have to put Into the Fray on because I don't want to risk 220 point Jedi just having Stormtrooper saves in melee. For me, I've said the tiers first, so you could say what tier you put him in, and then I'll say my final comments.
I put him in A tier.
Yes, same.
He's a solid A tier. I think
he would be S tier if deflect didn't change.
The tough thing is he loves being in melee because of his disengage, but now he's iffy about being melee because of the deflect changes.
Yes, exactly.
So it's
Otherwise, for me, easy S tier for Luke.
Yeah. He's not a boring character. He's really fun. His command cards are super good. But also, I know that sometimes with black dice as your attack dice, your Son of Skywalker, like I've seen it whiff. You know?
Oh yeah, you can roll through just 2 or 3 hits. Yes. No problem. It happens all the time. Yeah.
So he's not as consistent as like what Anakin would be on like his attacks, but he's still a very good. And sometimes, like we say this a lot with Force users, sometimes like not even rolling dice and dictating like what happens around your army.
I Am a Jedi is an awesome card.
It is.
And
it really is.
It makes it so you can attack, but it's a really good card. Like he's got 6 command cards, and they're all pretty decent.
Even you serve your master well on a 1-pip, like that's a free action, and you're dictating what happens around you, and so that's really good. So I'd probably put him like in the higher ranking of A tier, kind of like above Anakin, but he's still does not reach that S tier.
Yeah, they're both really good for different reasons. Almost completely different reasons. Anakin's all about like cost efficiency and supporting the army and blandness, whereas Luke is much flashier, much more expensive, but in there, getting his hands dirty.
He's one of those where like I think Anakin, like if your whole army has crumbled and Anakin's still alive, you're not winning. You're not winning. But if your whole army has crumbled and Luke's still alive, you still have pretty good odds.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Man, I wanted to, okay, I'll hold off on my other character because I have a light side one, but I think we need to bring balance to the Force here. So let's go dark side, and let's go with the weirdo in this group, the guy who doesn't have a lightsaber, Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine, gotta love the guy.
Palpatine was a really, really interesting like counter meta choice back in the Taun days.
Yep.
He had pulled the strings, which was guidance before guidance was a thing. It was only moves and attacks, but pretty strong. He has magic hands that can go zap zap. His 2-pip is probably his strongest card now. For telling your opponent what they go first with is really big, because either they win priority and you say no, you're going with that thing first.
It's really good.
Or you win priority and then essentially you get to go twice in a row. Because you tell them, nah, activate that thing. That's not going to
activate your pass activation, in the back of the army.
Or there are lists, in the Palp Vader list that Dave Grant runs. I believe he uses the Palp 2-pip to say, okay, go first with your Force user.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you can't just hold them to Force push Vader. You've got to go first with them. And then Vader will get back in melee and wreck you. So that's, I'd say, his strongest card, because honestly, really we played him in doubles at Adepticon. The 1-pip is good, but it's
very swingy. It's probably more swingy than like Luke's Son of Skywalker.
It was good it was great back in the day when damage was harder to come by. Damage like that just isn't as flashy anymore.
Correct.
And you have to build around him. Like you need to take IRGs, you probably need to take medics so that, you can heal back wounds. For me, maybe this is crazy, but that pushes him down to the C tier for me. I think he's fine, but I think for his cost and for how you kind of have to build around him, there are going to be just a bit better, more efficient options these days.
Yes. So I also put him in the C tier.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We did not coordinate at all beforehand. We didn't even coordinate on what the tiers meant to us.
Exactly.
Before we started recording, I even asked Seth, did you just rank them this time? Because in the Bounty Hunter tier list, he just did a ranking. So this is, hey, great minds think alike. What can you say?
It takes a lot of skill to play him really well, but even like a really good player can like play around. He's a lot easier to play around now than he is, like 2 years ago when he was like shining meta.
He does have burst of speed now, which is a good thing. Which makes him a bit easier to hold in the back and then slingshot forward. But So before we go to your next choice, Seth, just to recap for the audio-only people who are not seeing our lovely graphic here, we've got Operative Luke and Anakin Skywalker in the A tier, we've got Dooku and Ahsoka in the B tier, and Palpatine in the C tier. So that's where you stand currently. Who's next?
Okay, so since we went, let's do the mirror, the kind of like the mirror of Palp, and let's go Yoda.
Oh yeah.
I think this is where it is. All right, I'll start off with Yoda because this is like my favorite character to play. We mentioned earlier about like boring characters. I feel Yoda is the least boring character in the world. The thing is he takes a lot of skill and a lot of reps to play really, really good. He can make and break games by himself, but like. So yeah, let me just go through like kind of his card. First of all, guidance is really good. One for objective play. He is the biggest. Like some people may debate me this about Maul, but I think he is the biggest objective player in the game.
Oh, I would agree with that.
100%.
I would put Yoda way ahead of Maul on objectives.
Yeah, guidance
maybe
is
not way ahead, but yeah.
Yeah,
guidance.
Yeah. Guidance is really good. Just getting those extra actions for your army just to do objectives or getting people away, or like triggering charge or kind of like pulling the screen. I think it's better than pulling the strings just because again, rolling dice is not winning. Like just because you're rolling dice doesn't mean you're winning the game.
Yeah,
it's playing the objective that wins you the game. So guidance is really good. Atari Master, favorite mastery. He's like loaded up on dodges for his 2-pip. Especially if you're running his with force reflexes. Yeah. He's really good. Of course, surge to crit, surge to block. His only downside is 5 wounds, but with the boost to medics for Gar, that's very helpful to add
and
those.
Boil now.
And
if
Boil.
you want to get a little bit of spicy Guardian on your guy.
Well, I always try to bring Chewbacca with him.
That's true. Yep.
So you always have that Guardian kind of with him, because I think he really shines with Chewbacca. Without Chewbacca, I'll talk. I'm just gonna say now. I think with Chewbacca, Yoda's an S tier. Without Chewbacca, Yoda's an A tier.
I would agree. I didn't separate them out. I put Yoda in S tier. Part of it,
yes.
I was thinking can I put Yoda above Anakin, because I feel like a lot of the time right now Anakin feels like maybe the better choice. For
it's better because he's cheaper. He's a little bit more efficient, just each round.
Yeah,
but he doesn't have those objective plays that Yoda has. That's the thing.
You talked about for objectives too. Yoda's 1-pip, get into guidance twice, or just take the same tap of app twice. It's crazy. He's game breaking. He breaks your mind, yours and your opponent's. The decision trees are huge. He's, for me, the S tiers. I like what you touched on earlier. It's, hey, if this is who I have left and everything else has gone to heck, am I still going to be able to pull out the game? Yoda can do that.
Yoda is that.
Yoda can 100% do that. I am wholeheartedly. I'm down with the S tier Yoda.
The only downside about him is wait, I forgot what I was going to say on that.
I mean, you said before that the only downside was 5 wounds. Maybe your answer is different this time.
No, I think that's probably
he's
it.
Got some people say he's predictable with the command start cycling, but he's not. You cycle for a couple turns.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of get creative at the late game because you don't need to bring cards back. But also, I think predictability of command cards is a bit overrated as a downside for characters. In high level play, people know they can guess your command cards, right? Yeah. He's basically he's a 6 command card character almost.
He is.
And with Chewie, we've been talking a lot about burst of speed. Yoda has burst of speed built in on his 1-pip, which he can play technically 3 times. Probably you're just playing twice. He's got the force slots to take burst of speed as a force upgrade, and he has Chewie, who can kind of be a weird burst of speed version.
I still bring burst of speed because
100%. Always have that threat.
It's so nuts because you play burst of speed and then depending on the things, but you play burst of speed and then you have Chewbacca 2-pip right after. He's not moving anyway, so you know that mobilizing doesn't even move. Or if you've set it up Yoda really well, he doesn't need a move because he has guidance. I've seen people I've seen things where guidance is standby is something else. Force push, boom, they can do something. He can still do something. It's just.
Or, you can do. I've done this before in turns 5-6 on a recover game. Play the 1-pip, get your 2-pip back. Your 1-pip speed 3, so double move. And then turn 6, burst of speed with the 2-pip, double
That's
move,
it.
double blast things, and taking out their back hostage carrier.
So good.
Or not hostage, box carrier.
Yeah.
And just flipped the game. And the range on that, the 4 speed 3 moves and the attacks
nuts.
is wild.
It is nuts.
It's crazy. And then you have a bajillion dodges, so maybe you've overextended, but hey, good luck killing me if you haven't put any wounds on already.
Or it's to the point where, like, hey, even if you do kill me, like, I've already taken out your objective, you know?
Yeah,
so,
maybe I win on objectives regardless. He's awesome. I love Yoda. He's fun.
He's very fun. Takes a lot of reps to get really good with him, but in the right hands, man, he's undefeated, practically.
Yeah. If you
All
are
right.
going to run Palp at a long, or if you're going to run Yoda at a long event, get reps beforehand. Otherwise, you will just fatigue. Will be a big problem, right? Because it's a lot of thinking.
I've greatly noticed that playing Yoda, especially at long events, is that I have a huge headache after, like, even a 3-day event, because I'm just like, my brain just it hurts, you know. All right. Well, let's continue. What's next, Matt?
What's next? Let's go with Commander Vader.
All right, Commander Vader.
Let's do an iconic character, a core set character. Commander Vader depicted here with his Master of Evil artwork. I'll just start off with it. I put Commander Vader in C tier not because he can't boss games around. If he gets in to your opponent's army, it can be just game over. With his command cards like Indomitable, Vader's Might, like, he's really good once he gets in there. The problem for me is you need a very specific plan on how you're getting him to that location because of his lack of speed.
I agree.
Burst of speed helps a lot for sure, but you still have to contend with difficult terrain, obstacles that he can't really jump over, not only using the speed 1 climb, you know. So that's why for me, because you really need to plan around Commander Vader. You can't just plop him in. I put him in C tier.
This is the one we actually disagree on. I put him in B tier.
Finally, seven characters in. We have a disagreement.
So I put him in low B tier. I'd put him as the lowest B tier, but we'll put him in C tier just for you, for visual.
Oh, so there you go. You're gonna humor me. Okay.
But
I think I have a concession that'll come up later. We'll even it out in the future.
So he is. Vader has the best command cards, like, in the game.
Such good command cards.
Like, well, I think Vader and Yoda has the best command cards.
Yes, Vader and Yoda. Well, Yoda has really good command cards, but they're really good when you combo them with partly when you combo them with his keywords. They're also just really good on their own.
That's
Whereas
true.
Vader's, like, just you put Indomitable Implacable or Vader's Might on any characters, they're like instantly those characters' best cards for almost all Force users because they just are so strong, both for just damage and objective play. They're so good at objective play. Yeah.
So the reason I put him in B tier, you mentioned, I agree with you on everything that you said, but his adding Compel Core Trooper, I think really enhances him.
Infinite Courage is good.
Infinite Courage, he's got 8 wounds. It's like the most of a single model that's not a vehicle in the game. So there's a lot of firepower that you have to kill with him. To use to kill, so he can kind of take some wounds to get into the lines.
And he's got Reliable from his 3-pip, so
you know you don't
surge,
need into the fray
the deflect
or
changes. Yeah, you don't need the slot. The changes to deflect don't affect him as much because he's got that Reliable. He's got Command Slot, which
Command Slot's really good.
It's good. I don't know what you put in that slot these days for Commander Vader.
It depends on if normally I don't think you put anything, but
I think you keep them cheap. Maybe
you could always
even
like
Esteemed.
Yeah, or Inspiring Presence.
Yeah, if you really want that range 4 bubble. But you've got the option. It's a pretty good slot.
You've got the option. If Vigilance ever goes down, I think Vigilance is a good one on him.
Yeah, if it wasn't 12 freaking points.
Yeah.
Same with Yoda. I these days you're kind of leaving Yoda's command slot empty. They're just characters that are really expensive to start with, so adding on something that's also going to be really expensive is I agree. Is a tough sell for me.
I agree. All right, so what's next? We disagree on one.
That's your choice. Your choice for what's next.
Yes. All right, let's go Shadow Collective Maul.
I was just thinking we have 2 Mauls on the board, so we should get one of those out of the way.
So let's get one of them. So let's do Shadow Collective. I enjoy Shadow Collective Maul. He's a fun character. We mentioned before he's a good objective player. To not as much as Yoda, but he's still really good. He's got a great army behind him, even with all the nerfs around them. You always bring his Dark Saber with him because you want. I mean,
unless you want to win Lone Star Open 2022, baby. Didn't need no Dark Saber then. Didn't even need Force Choke.
It's true. It's true.
That was a burst of speed, Maul.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. You ran. That was an interesting list.
It was an interesting list.
But you won with it, so yeah.
Exactly.
Great command cards on him. One, he has Duel of the Fates, which is the greatest 1-pip a Force user, almost the greatest 1-pip a Force user can have. Not having any of your opponent like spend dodges or anything, or surges for that matter, or aims.
Yeah, or surges.
And you get disengaged. Like that's a really good card. But I think where he really shines is Witch Magic. Being able to take off wounds at the start of the activation phase is really good. Wounds or immobilize or poison, and he gets a free recover. So he doesn't have Master of the Force. So that's
when you have 3 actions, whatever.
You can whatever, and you have recovers that you can use. Of course, his eminence is really good.
I was about to say you didn't touch on his eminence.
I haven't yet.
Ignoring I used that so much at the aforementioned LSO. If a unit was like on 8 suppression, sweet, I get 2 actions anyways. Shoot, recover, and it's back down to 0. It's a get out of jail free card. These days, it's kind of weird with the new suppression rules for scoring, rules, but. You can get around that. It's fine. It's a really good card. All the 3 Shadow Collective cards are almost all undroppable for him, I'd say.
Yeah, and the great thing about him, other than CIS Maul, is that he has wound 1, so he automatically gets those 3 actions without even needing to take a wound. Like he does take a wound, but like he has those 3 actions.
It's really good in that, CIS Maul, you kind of have to play at last the turn you want to dive him in there, and really start using his 3 actions. Whereas, so you don't have to do that, but if let's say they get a range 4 crit shot on CIS Maul, you don't really care because, hey, you do a wound, great, you just activated my mastery. Whereas if you do that on Shadow Collective Maul, he's not thrilled about that. But also, is it Vaps? Well, I can double move and tap the Vap turn 1, even if I played standing orders. It's good. And again, Cunning, much like Dooku, if you have the Darksaber, Cunning, really good on a Force user.
Cunning, really good. Really good.
Maul, for me, is another character where I think the deflect changes really hurt him. Him especially.
Yeah.
We talked about how 7 black... Probably, because like 7 black, we talked about with Op Luke can be inconsistent. 6 black is really a crapshoot. He's got Commander Luke Lightsaber if you run Darksaber without Tenacity. And Tenacity's awesome. But then you have no surges in melee and not a lot of dodge access either. And that's not and you start at 5 wounds. And I don't like that.
That's true. I agree. Yeah.
So I'm actually very curious where you put Shadow Collective Maul.
So I put Shadow Collective Maul on the top of B tier.
I would agree with that. Because for me, much like Op Luke, who was S down to A with the deflect changes, I think Shadow Collective Maul would have been A down to B.
Yes. And what didn't help him is also the nerfs to his army. Because
it's still really good though.
I mean, he's still really good, but as you see, he won a ton of tournaments, even like before, like those, like
He was good. More. He was really good.
And
old style Maul Shadow Collective was like a list that could stand up to Blizzard Force. Back in November, December, when it was 10 Axe, 5 Pikes, 3 Capos, Maul tricked out. It was very strong.
Yes. So he's a good, solid commander. He's not the best, but he's not the worst.
He can't share his courage in Shadow Collective because all their core have. Well, he can share it to like anything that's not a core trooper. The core troopers are kind of
Yeah.
Self-preservation. It's a tricky keyword.
Yeah.
But okay. So far the only disagreement is Vader, but I know for sure that there's going to be disagreement here. We've gotten to it. We can come back to Gar for the last Gar Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh man,
Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's come up a couple times. Obi-Wan Kenobi. His lightsaber sucks. His lightsaber's really bad. He's got a training slot, so he can put tenacity on there.
Yep.
But he doesn't have dice fixing, so it still kind of sucks as compared to Ahsoka. He has Guardian, which is a fine support ability, but usually you're just using it to spend a dodge and not to actually roll wounds, so it's kind of like a worse exemplar. You can be a bit more aggressive with it now because medics are cheaper. And you can do, the high velocity stuff is actually really nice. You can Guardian the high velocity and spend the dodge. That was a buff. He's the character I would most expect to get buffs in the end of May, so this might be the most outdated opinion in a month.
Yep.
But his command cards are meh. I look at Obi and I just say, Anakin just does everything everything Obi does better for cheaper.
Yes.
And for that reason, I put Obi-Wan as my D tier option.
Oh man.
I put him all the way down there, Seth.
I put him on the lower end of C tier just because he is still a solid commander. He is, of course, you have your Courage 3. His 3 pip is clunky in this whole new sharing thing.
It was designed for infinite token sharing.
Yes.
And even back then, it was kind of a meh command card. It was like, great, now everyone has... My army surges for a turn.
Yeah. But I think his 2 pip really shines and his 1 pip is really good. I in the right hands, I think Obi can do really well. I would kind of compare him to Anakin. He's kind of a boring character because you're just kind of clunking your army along together. And then you just run him with like bursts of speed or something. And then you jump in and like do your hello there. I've seen that play and it's done really well. Right. Especially like getting a standby on hello there. So be able to swing your lightsaber 2 times if you're in the right position.
Too bad really it's helpful. A bad lightsaber. Oh no.
Oh, I know, but I think what really shines for Hello There is actually him getting nimble.
Yes,
nimble.
He's very tanky on that turn.
Very tanky. Like I remember playing Obi-Wan on his 1 pip against the Emperor's 1 pip, and the thing is. Like the Emperor the only target was Obi-Wan, so every time I had dodges. For any time he attacks, I just kept like deflecting wounds back. So it's like it was super. Like there's some cool tricks you can do with nimble. I think his greatest strength is either getting that standby or nimble on that 1 pip. Like he's still decent. I think he's still a C tier commander, but we'll put him in D tier.
This will be my concession. Yeah, we can put him in the C tier. He wasn't hurt by the deflect changes because Sarasu Mastery still works. In melee give him surge to block. So yeah, we can put him in the C tier. I'm fine with that.
And then
I'm fine with that.
I still love that high velocity change. I think that's really helped, especially in the early game, because there's a lot of times where like, man, what do I do with Obi-Wan in the early game? Well, now you take dodges and then just take those high velocity shots off your army.
I think we're gonna see a lot more high velocity snipers coming up because. Especially if darks get looked at, because right now, Empire and clones are the top dogs, and neither one of them really likes to see snipers on the other side of the table.
It's true.
Maybe Blizzard Forces may be okay with it because they got bikes, but they'd rather be shooting other stuff. So I think if Obi-Wan just gets a little bit of attention and maybe a points reduction, he could shoot way up in my rankings.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. All right, what's next? I think it's my go.
It's your go. It's your go because I stole Obi-Wan from under you because I wanted to
All good.
slap
all
him in
good.
that D tier and do him dirty.
So let's go a little newer. Let's go Asajj.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, so Asajj, 5 wounds. Oh man, I'm just gonna put her on the tier right now. I think she is a low B tier.
I don't know about. It's hard to judge, right?
It's hard
I
to
haven't
judge.
played her. I've played only a little bit against her.
She's better than Ahsoka.
I don't know. I don't know if she's better. They're different, right?
I think yeah.
She's just such a glass cannon.
She is.
She is very cannon-y and very glassy. Remember, we were talking about my game with Ahsoka against Asajj. Like Asajj can kill, like she kills Jedi with Makashi. It's really nasty. But also, if I had won that roll off, I'm one-shotting her.
Right.
Right. So,
Gosh.
and that's a little bit of, maybe that's a bit of dice. Maybe that's not happening the majority of the time, but it's a very real possibility with my 10 die Ahsoka attack. So it won't happen a lot, but she's flimsy because she doesn't really have surge access.
She's a little flimsy.
She only has the 5 wounds. 8 black dice is great, but they're unreliable unless you have the 1 pip, in which case you're feeling great about life when you have 4. 8 black dice should still roll 4 hits on average. And then you have 4 dodges, so boom, boom, boom. That's 8. That's a very scary turn.
Yeah, I think Asajj is she's flexible and depending on the army. So if like her 3 pip is really good. Divulging, getting those extra keywords. 1, getting when you're going up against a force user or a non-force user, having Makashi as just a threat for a force user is really good. But if you're not going up against a force user, having bounty is also really good. Also really good.
But hey, you know what a lot of force user lists have these days?
Melee deterrent.
Non-force.
Yeah.
Boba Fett. Makashi's still good against impervious too.
Yes.
Still cancels out impervious.
Yep.
She also suffers from not having Master of the Force. But she's also
got
cheap.
some recovers. She is cheap.
She got a recover on her 2 pip, which is probably the best part of the 2 pip. It's a little weird because she's got independent dodge.
Yeah.
But
with
then
droids, you can make that work.
That's of course the only place. But then you probably have to play B1s with her, which B1s are weird.
Yeah.
B tier seems about right for me. I feel like I don't think she could ever have the consistency to get into A tier.
No.
That's the problem because she's such a glass cannon. Sometimes she's just going to break and shatter on the floor.
Yep.
Oh, whoops. And you're out of the tournament.
Yeah. So you definitely run into the fray. You're running force push and you're running force choke.
Yeah.
Because recovering and getting both force push and force choke is really good.
Yeah, and for that reason, the second training slot, I see a lot of people using offensive push. Yeah. Because you're moving around and doing that, and you're recovering a lot. Makes sense to me.
Which
I've seen people try to put it on Ahsoka. I don't think it's as good on Ahsoka. I think you do tenacity. Yeah. The thing is with Asajj, by the time you've taken a wound to trigger tenacity, you're in deep trouble.
It's true.
You are in deep trouble.
You do not want to take wounds with Asajj.
You are hit it and get out.
Yep.
With
get in,
Asajj.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
No,
all right,
for sure.
What's next? What's next, Matt?
What is next? Okay, so we got a couple Darksiders, and I'm trying to figure out.
Do we end it off with Vader and Luke?
I think we end. That's what I was looking at. So
okay.
I'm going to. I'll go with I guess 2 CIS in a row, but that's fine.
That's fine.
Let's talk CIS Maul because much like Asajj, he's also a glass cannon. I'd say he's less glassy and a little less cannon-y. So he's like a porcelain shotgun. I don't know. He's still really good at objectives with 3 actions. He doesn't have those sweet, dank Shadow Collective command cards that Maul has. Or sorry, that Shadow Collective Maul has. Yeah. He does have probe droids, which are funky and cool. Very cheap filler. He's got an army behind him with perfect order control. He's got the 2 training slots, actually, though. That's the really big thing compared to Shadow Collective Maul. That's the key right there. Right? Yeah. The big thing holding Shadow Collective Maul back from the A tier was he's got 1 training slot, so he has to choose between tenacity and into the fray. Droids, you can take both. You got 2 force, 2 training, take tenacity, take into the fray. That's a really strong attack with 5 red, 4 white.
Yep.
For me, I would put him in B tier for that reason.
I'm with
Same
you.
as Shadow Collective Maul. He's got less, his cards are less good, but his unit profile is actually a bit better. No cunning, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like, cunning's a nice bonus. You can be good without cunning.
Yeah, so even before Shadow Collective came out, I think Maul like highlighted a lot, and I think when Shadow Collective came out, like CS, people got like, oh, CS, like
He's just worse.
CIS Maul.
No.
It's like just worse. It's like, it's like the meme where like the guy's looking back at the girl or something. It's like Shadow Collective Maul, and it's like holding hands with. But I still think he's really good. Some of the key things I like about him is having 2 1-pips. A force user having 2 1-pips is really nice, especially on in an army that you're running more activations on average than your opponent.
Yep.
And so I see like a lot of play with like Maul triple staps. That's a really good play. Of course, you're still running Duel of the Fates, one of the best 1-pips for a force user to have. And just I think that's really good. The only again, the downside is just you have to play that at last to get the 3 actions.
Yeah.
Because he still has that objective play. I'm just not by turn 1 unless you play at last.
The activations are important when you're talking about a flimsy character, kind of like this, like a glass cannon. The fact that you can out-activate them and last first a bit more easily is big. Because, Shadow Collective Maul is probably limited to 9 acts in a lot of lists these days. It's a lot harder for him to get to 10 and still be competitive, whereas Maul in droids can hit 10, even 11 if you want to go thin. So he's got the upper hand there.
Yeah, so he's good. And I do like him on the Phantom Menace just because, like, Maul can attack, so you can put him, but units within range 2 cannot, like, outside of range 2 cannot attack. So you can get him in position pretty easily. Yeah,
he's a lot more likely to use the Infiltrate, I would say, from Phantom Menace more so than Shadow Collective Maul.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Do we want to end on a high note or end on a low note here, Seth?
Ooh.
I think we should end on a high note, personally.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So let's go. Commander Luke. I'm just gonna put him in there. Like, nope.
Yep. What do we need? Oh, you put him. Okay, yeah. I was going to be up in arms if you put him in D tier. I put Luke in F tier.
I put him in F tier.
He's so bad. He's so bad. Before
if you have the core set, I'm sorry.
Yeah, before it was always, I'm still, even though he's way more expensive, I'm paying for Op Luke. Now you have an intermediate option. You can pay for Ahsoka.
Yes.
She still doesn't have Master of the Force, but she is useful. Yeah. Commander Luke got wrecked. As we keep coming up by deflect changes, which especially sucks because prepared supplies came out last year, and that actually kind of helped him.
Yep.
But he's just...
he's clunky. His action economy is not super good.
He doesn't have free recovers, but he has no Master of the Force. His lightsaber is not good. Like 6 black is just not good enough.
Not good.
So he can't be a game wrecker because he doesn't have Disengage or Master of the Force to be like doing a lot of stuff. He's just not as big of a threat.
No, he's not.
Back in the day, it was like, I Son of Skywalker, your Stormtrooper squad, and they're gone, and that's big deal. It's like, Son of Skywalker with Commander Luke is just not good enough.
I see there's only one reason to bring Commander Luke, and that is an Echo Base during Echo Base's 3-pip. So you use Force Push to knock all the standbys so all your emplacement troopers can get a free attack. But other than that, that's his only use in the game right now.
Yeah. Look, I'm not a hater. I want to get this out there. I played a lot of Cassian Luke back in the day, right? Like I liked that. But that was 2020, 2021. We're living in 2023, and Commander Luke is not good. Is he still 160, or did they bump him down to 155?
He is still 160. Yes.
That is criminal.
Yes.
That is absolutely criminal. His base cost is 5 less than Ahsoka, 5 more than Anakin, Asajj, and CIS Maul, I believe. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Gosh.
And oof. all Force users have at least 2 Force slots.
Yeah. Which he does.
And he does. And then all that Commander Luke has otherwise is a gear slot.
Is a gear
slot. And that's a really not useful slot most of the time.
Especially compared
compared to trainings, command slots. Those are the main ones. Those are the main other ones that Jedi have.
Yeah.
Prepared supplies was okay when deflect didn't suck. Emergency stims, I guess, but.
So I think the difference between him, with Luke's command cards, you really want to be in the middle of the engagement, in the middle of the what's happening, in the middle of the army, and that's where operative Luke really shines, is because he has a disengage, so he can move and jump around as much as he wants. Luke does not have that ability. So he's pretty much stuck where he is, and so the command cards that he uses, he can use all 6 command cards, which are still decent command cards, but it's it's not the same. He can't manipulate as pretty much how any other Force users manipulate the game.
He doesn't have the gravitas on the battlefield that makes people respect him, right?
Correct. He crashes a snow speeder and that's it,
Right. And a lot of the time with Force users, what you're leveraging is that threat. They don't have to get in there necessarily right away to start chopping things up. The threat, the zoning. And if people are, you don't have to respect or Commander Luke.
Yeah.
He's just there.
If
you wanted a 170 point force push on a stick just so you had force push in your army, but just take Ahsoka. Just take 175 force push on a stick in that case.
Yeah, I would love to see Commander Luke just get some love. Even if it's just hey, just give him Master of the Force 1. He's still not great.
No, they couldn't do that. Not after they didn't. It's after not giving Ahsoka, who studied in the Jedi Temple and has been doing freelance Jedi work for, she'll say she's doing freelance Jedi work. Yeah.
Fair.
For 20 years, not having a Master of the Force. No way Commander Luke will ever get it. And I don't think he can really, he kind of has a General Grievous problem where it's I don't think the fix can just be make him dirt cheap. Yeah, it's a lot of units problem. There's just a weird line where it goes from unplayable to too efficient really fast when it's just points you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's finish it off.
Big one. S tier for Vader.
S tier.
Yeah, he good.
S tier. Best.
And that's part of why Commander's in C tier. You can just take Operative, and he has all the same boss command cards. He can get to the same attack with tenacity to get up to 6 red like Commander Vader. Yep. But he also gets scatter shenanigans. He's faster. He can take into the fray for even more surges, or seize the initiative if you're running something. If you're running double darks and you want to seize the initiative on the pinned down turn. So he just does it all. He's really good in objectives. He can just blender an entire army. We did a test game before LVO, I want to say, which you pulled out in the end with Yoda and Chewie in a clone list, but it was looking good for you.
I actually
and then
wasn't
Vader
running
hit
Chewie,
your
but...
lines. Oh, right, that was the clone commander version. Yeah. Maybe it would have gone better for you if you had Chewie, but it was looking good for you. Then Vader hit your lines, and you had basically no army anymore. But
true,
Yoda can solo games, and that's why those two characters are in S tier.
Yes, I do think Yoda is better than Vader. You don't need as much. Here's the thing. You don't need as much reps with Vader as you do with Yoda, but I think Yoda has more objective play than Vader and can pull it off better.
Yoda doesn't have a little thing I'd like to call Force Choke.
This is true.
That's a big... Force Choke is really good.
It
neuters... It
everything.
Has objective play. It has... It just takes out heavies. One of the thoughts I had, I guess I didn't really think of it while we were talking about the bulk of this, but I think a move force push sort of engagement feels a lot worse these days than it used to. You'll still do it when you have to, but you know, doing that and not getting anything for it kind of sucks. Mm-hmm. Vader, and that's why I want burst of speed, you know, going back to Ahsoka at the start, so I can move, and actually get an attack off, potentially. But Vader can move in and force choke something, and you feel great about life. You're feeling awesome. Or he just jumps, scatters, force chokes something, jumps back down. Jump as in climb. It's really a climb. You're feeling awesome about life.
Yep.
So I think force choke really helps there in the
kind of puts
comparison
him
with
over
Yoda.
the edge. All right.
It's
I'll
tough.
give that. I'll give that.
It's really tough to say between the two. They also exist in very different armies.
They do. I'll give it to you that you need less reps with Vader. Like Vader's a little bit more forgiving than Yoda is, playing Yoda. So I'll give it. I'll say Vader's a little bit better than Yoda just for that fact. But
for me, I don't look at. This is why I like tier lists, because it's hard to like rank them necessarily when they do such different. This is why I like tiers, because they're just they're both really powerful, just in different ways.
Just in different ways.
And that's kind of Jedi. So like as we said, even the C tier Jedi, they have a spot. They do. And they're gonna do work for you if you play them right. So Seth, let's do a quick summary for those who are just listening. What's the tier list looking like?
So we'll start on the bottom. On F tier, you have Commander Luke. Don't play him.
R.I.P.
D tier, you had an Obi-Wan, but we moved him up to C tier.
Our consensus is C tier on him.
Low C tier. So you have, and then on C tier, you have Commander Vader, you have Palpatine, and Obi-Wan. On B tier, you have Shadow Collective Maul, you have Dooku, CIS Maul, Asajj, and Ahsoka. And in A tier, you have Operative Luke and Anakin Skywalker. And then S tier, you have Operative Vader and Yoda.
There we go.
That's good. That's a good list. That's
Yeah, that's a good list. And we agreed on a lot, which means we must be right. So,
yes, I can't wait to come back to this, add Inquisitors to that. Hopefully in the future, add like Mace Windu, please.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll try, technology permitting. I think this is a template now. We'll try to put it in the description of the episode for the link, so you can make your own, share it, go to the Discord, put it in competitive chat.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know. And then let people roast you. Do it. Or agree with you.
Agree with you. They'll probably roast you.
If we don't go and do that, it's because we need people to listen to the episode, not because we're cowardly and don't want to share our opinions.
It's true. If you tag us, we'll roast you, whatever. Even if you agree on this, we'll roast you.
That's a standing invitation. Whatever you want. If you at us, we can come and pick you apart.
You just gave us full permission to roast you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, man.
Well, thank you, Seth.
Out.
This was fun. I liked it. It lived up to the hype for me.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I love Jedi, and I love ranking things. So this is honestly, life can't get any better.
We're on a high right now. What could get better, you know? Oh, man.
So hopefully our listeners are also on a high right now.
Yep.
Loving that. So keep loving Jedi, keep loving tier lists, and stay Gungan.
This has been the Bombad Generals.
Listening to Bombad Generals is not scientifically proven to make you a better Legion player. Side effects may include bad dice rolls, missed triggers, aim losses, bankruptcy, divorce, vomiting, and sudden death. Ask your doctor if Bombad Generals is right for you.